What's happening, family? Happy Sunday evening, and I hope each of you are well and blessed. I'm so excited, and we are excited to have you guys here for another edition and another episode of Village Chat. Indeed, the time is going by quickly, but you guys know what they say time flies when you're having fun. We are entering the fifth week starting tomorrow, 4 weeks behind us, and we're entering week five, the final stretch, the last 14 days. But remember, this is not a program, meaning it does not end. It's a process, which means it's ongoing. So I want to first start off with welcoming each of you. We're going to have an amazing conversation on tonight, and I am excited. So, first, I wanted to greet everyone. I want to welcome each of you who are participants in one of the two processes, whether you're in the 4-day turn up, whether you're in the journey, whether you're a leader, or you are a former participant, or you may be watching this and you are not in the process, but maybe you've heard about it, or you just landed on this site and you're seeing these individuals and this great uh, energy that you are sensing and you're just trying to figure out what's going on. Well, if you are new to this, meaning that you've never gone through one of the processes, or you are maybe wondering who we are, who I am, what this is, we are a village, an online digital community whereby we specialize in helping people to transform themselves holistically, mind, body, and spirit. A lot of people think that this is a weight loss program because weight is the first thing people see you losing. This is not a weight loss program. This is a transformative process. It's ongoing. In order to change or in order to transform, you can't compartmentalize it. If you're trying to change physically, you have to change spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. It's all intertwined and it's all interconnected, and that's what this is all about. So if you want more information about the village, about the processes, if you want information about me and who I am, you can visit us at www.journeylife.tv. I encourage you to follow us on Facebook at Journey Life TV. Follow us on Instagram, Journey Life TV. There are many transformational pictures there, hundreds at this point. We got thousands of followers there on both platforms. If you're looking for the next class, it's all and all will be talked about on those social media platforms, both Facebook as well as Instagram. So be certain that you follow us there so you don't miss out on anything. So let's talk about what Village Chat is all about. Village Chat is an opportunity for us to present real life participants who are actively in the process as we speak. There are three processes each year. The 4-day turn up and the Journey 3.0 process go through at the same time at tandem. We have three classes. The first one is a winter spring session, which is what we're in. We'll have a summer fall session, and then we'll have a fall winter session near the ending of the year. So they're all cohorts, so we keep people together and migrate them through this process all at the same time. So when we have Village Chat, it gives us the opportunity to hear the stories of individuals who are actually in the process. Hear about them, their lives, their obstacles, their successes, their failures, because at the end of the day, what connects us is the human story. The stories of human beings transcend race, transcend culture, nationality, socioeconomic status, all of the above. And it really shows us that we're more alike than we are different. So on tonight, we've got a double header. And last week, we had a double header and it was a great session. But the Swains, who are going to be our guest on tonight, we had some technical difficulties, but thank God we got everything ironed out. And our first guest will be a couple. These individuals are actually in the Journey 3.0 process, and I want to present to you guys Mr. and Mrs. Charles and Elaine Swain. Charles and Elaine,
Hello
how you
there.
guys doing?
We're
All
doing
right.
great.
Fantastic.
Hey, you sounding crystal clear. How you feeling on this Sunday evening?
Feeling good. Feeling
Doing
good.
well.
Feeling good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being our special guest. I'm sorry about our technical difficulties last week, but we got everything ironed out. So I'm glad you guys are on, and we're going to jump right in and to talk to you guys. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourselves, who you are, and where you live, where you're from?
Go first.
Okay. I am Elaine Swain. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I moved to Atlanta when I was 15 to stay with my godparents and help them with their son. I from there went to high school, graduated high school, went to West Georgia College, which is where I met him, and we became friends around, I guess, around my junior year, and so on and so forth. Wound up getting engaged, got married, lived in Carrollton for a little bit. We had 3 children who are now adults. One is married with his own child, and so we have that one grandchild. We've just been happily married, and this is going on our 37th year. So,
well, congratulations! That is awesome. 3 grown children, your grandparents. What a great story. So you're here in the greater Atlanta area. What type of work are you all? What do you do in terms of for a living, or what did you do? I don't know if you all are retired or if you're still working.
Well, I'm from Atlanta. Went to Northside High School, and like she said, we met at West Georgia. I'm worked for Marta, been there 23 years. Didn't start off, didn't think I was going to be there that long, but God is good, you know.
That's
so
great.
That's what I'm in the transportation industry.
Okay, wonderful. So tell us, we're going to be nosy. What was it about you guys when you met each other that made you think that she and he was the one? And both of you all can answer.
She just kept saying no. She would push me away. You know, ministry there, which is where World Changes really started. Pastor Dollar was there, and you know that we started having little meetings and Bible studies, and I met her there, and she was just crisp and clean. And I mean, you know, didn't nobody have nothing on her.
Yeah. He has good taste, doesn't he, Elaine?
Oh, definitely, and so do I. He's a tremendous blessing.
Well, that is awesome. I'm so glad to hear about that. And you know, it's great. It's great when you see people who are happy and together, and you have such a fruitful relationship. So you guys have been married for how long?
It'll be 37 years in June.
In June.
All right. You got a lot of people who are watching who are married. You got a lot of people who want to be married. From your perspective, what do you think is the best advice that you can give people to have a long, healthy marriage? I know I'm catching you off the spot, but
no, you're good. You're good. Okay.
I would say make sure that when you start off in your marriage, you're equally yoked. You both have a relationship with the Lord, because if one does and the other doesn't, you're going to have 2 different perspectives on the quality of life, or what, you know, marriage looks like, what have you. And beyond that, I would say make sure that you have a friendship. You know, make sure that you're friends before anything, because if you just jump right into it, you don't really have, first of all, the core to gravitate to when you run into difficulties, in the core being Jesus Christ. And then the other thing is you don't have that foundation of friendship. You know, he's my best friend. So
she's mine, and we love on each other, and then we have learned to not be wordy, you know, pretty much just letting everything be yay and nay, and answering each other directly. I tend to beat around the bush. She's more direct, opposites attract. But we try not to go to bed, man, mad or anything, and we always resort to prayer. You know, when there's, you know, and my dad always told me, son, you don't have it made until you die married. So that's all. We're always working on it. We're always working on it.
Well, that's great. Those are some great nuggets of wisdom, and I received that, and I hope you guys in the chat group listen to that, because that's some 37 years in. That's a lot of wisdom in that. So thank you all for sharing. So talk to us. Let's kind of back up. I know you guys are both in the journey, and we're going to get to that. But before we get to that, let's back up a bit and talk about what got you into the process, the 40-day turn-up. Did you guys do it together as you're doing the journey now? Did you come through at different times? What drew you to the process?
Well, my sister Valerie had already gone through the process the first part of last year, and we watched her go through it, and she would talk about it. Yeah, I got to do it. You got to do it. So she kind of drew us into it, and Elaine and I both started looking into looking into what we could do. And she made sure she rubbed it in. Make sure you sign up the very first day. So we decided we was going to do it together. I wanted to get off all my meds and stuff, and she's not on any meds, but she said, I'm in there with you, baby. So we've been doing it together ever since.
How was your experience?
In the 40-day turn up?
Yes.
Larry Matthews, shout out to Larry.
Shout out to Larry.
I did very good, in the 40-day. I started off at 216. My ending weight was 183, so I lost about 32 pounds.
Awesome.
Last week, we crossed over into the 40 pounds, lost 40 now, about 41. But 40-day turn up was blunt force trauma. Mm-hmm. That's the best, because it was a shock. The things that I thought were okay were not okay.
Right.
But I have to say that, what you've shared with us has been the truth. And I'm not taking any diabetes medicines anymore. I can't take the full strength of my high blood pressure anymore. I've had fewer gout attacks. Those are the three things that I suffer with the most. So it's really cleaned me up on the inside.
Awesome. That's awesome. What about you, Elaine?
I started out with the 40-day turn up. Shout out to Deborah Jet. We had a great time. Yes. And I think one of the things that I liked most was the camaraderie. Everybody was into it together. And one thing that we did do after the 40-day turn up, we had a continuation that we called the after party.
Right.
And even though the core of that was to continue to lose weight or to maintain, one thing that we added a component in there was to bond. So our leader, Deborah Jett, once again came down from California to meet with us one weekend. I think you might remember we came to your church.
I remember.
We had a great outing that Saturday. We went to the escape room, and that was an experience that allowed us to gel. We really had a great time getting to know one another. We went out to breakfast. And we really just had a great time. Deborah had not really been to Atlanta before. She had a conference here, but she didn't get a chance to really see the city. So I got the opportunity to show her around, show her all the AU Center, and we just had a great time. So I really, really love the 40-day turn up, but I'm really enjoying the journey as well. Shout out to our leader there, Mabel Hamlet, and we are just having a great time there as well.
Well, that's one. I'm glad to hear those stories and those success stories. Congratulations. Let's kind of get over into the journey 3.0. So we'll start with you, Charles, in terms of talk about your group. Who's your leader? Talk about your group. And let's start there.
Okay. My group leader is Percy Key. Shout out to Percy. He's covered everything from meal prep, which we were already doing. Then when you started with us having to do the journey, it was great. But when we had our first assignment, I was able to share with Percy that you took me back to first grade Catholic school, with some of my writing skills, feelings of inadequacy with my writing. And so it's weight loss is not, for me, it hadn't been the most important part of the journey. It's been internally getting myself together. We'll say we gave our hearts to the Lord in college and really before then, but it's really bringing us some things that I hadn't really dealt with. Mm-hmm. So it's been an experience. It really has.
For people who are in the 40-day turn up, Charles, and they are wondering, well, what's the difference? What would you say the biggest difference between the 40-day turn up and the journey are from your perspective?
Well, the 40-day turn up was mostly my dealing with myself physically, dealing with weight loss and just dealing with taking power over my flesh,
right?
To be able to make the necessary sacrifices to achieve a specific goal. Mm-hmm. That goal in the journey 3.0, even though weight loss is a goal, and I know we have to lose, the 10 pounds, so on and so forth, it's really not. It's not in the forefront.
Right.
Me getting my relationship with the Lord has been the most important. My getting myself together to be able to deal with the darts and all the things that the world throws at me spiritually, I've been having to deal with. So this whole thing to me, journey has been strictly spiritual. It's been physical, don't get me wrong, but mostly for me, it's been spiritual.
Wow. Elaine, what about you? Same question.
It's the same with me. I enjoy writing, so I think before the process even began, when someone told me, well, you're going to be doing some writing there, I said, yay.
And I said,
so it's been a wonderful experience. I think it's allowing me to really get a look at myself internally on a real level. It's one thing when people expect you to write a certain thing or to say a certain thing, or that you look at someone else's journey and you see, maybe I'll mimic them or say, but it's another thing when you look deep inside yourself and you look at those things that really bother you and those things that really hinder you from moving on or getting to that next level, and you include those into your writing. That's what really, really got my attention, and got me to say, okay, I'm going to put this out on the line, whether it's what someone is expecting me to write or whether it's what people are expecting to read. It's what I feel. It's me. It's like my reality. You can't fault somebody for feeling a certain way because that's their reality. That's the way they feel. So,
question for you all: your experience in the 40-day turn up, specifically to your peers in your group, your group. Do you feel a different connection with the people in your group in the 40-day turn up versus the Journey 3.0? And I'm not necessarily talking about better or worse, but different. Is it? Do you feel that the camaraderie is different at all? And
I've never, outside of really a group of men in 3.0 wearing badges of transparency every week to share their deepest hurts. A lot of the men in the group are going back to childhood, going back to broken families, going back to their fathers being there, but their fathers never saying they love them. I mean, I've heard some things that really just kind of shook me to the core. Transparency. That's the key to this 3.0. A group of men or either group of women just really being transparent, not caring about what people, like Elaine just said, not caring about what people think about them or going to say later. We're sworn to secrecy among each other, and we just been really, really transparent. And I give, we all call him PJ, but I really give Percy credit, our leader, for continually opening that door. I mean, we try to shut the door on transparency. He opens it right back up. Right. I'm like, okay, Percy, we crying now. What else you want us to do? But it's transparency, It's that transparency that's been so great.
That's
it really has.
Charles, to your point, I was talking about this with a few male friends of mine. That's one thing men don't have as much as women are a lot better than us at verbalizing what they feel. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why women live longer. It's easier for women. Also, society is more receptive to that. But with men, we're kind of trained to keep it in, to deal with it. Yep. And to your point, sir, I think when you're a man and you can be in a group like that and it's safe to express yourself with other men, that's a great environment that a lot of men need.
Yeah, it is. And you use the word safe. That's a very good place. That's a very good word because we all feel safe to be transparent.
And that makes me feel good that you and others say that, because we work really hard as an organization to keep the integrity of the village and to keep it a safe place. It's a lot of things we got to do to get there, but it's very, very worth it. What about you, Miss Elaine? How would you feel your connection with the 40 turn up versus the Journey? Is it different? Is it the same? What would you say?
I think we did something with the 40-day turn up that is kind of an anomaly. When we got together that weekend, that allowed us really to get to know each other, because not only did we see each other in person, we sat down, we talked to each other. Deborah Jett stayed here at our home, and she was just like a part of the family. Yeah. And we got a chance to really know her. She and I talked on a really personal level, talked about our family and our family history, and that kind of connection made for a very special relationship among our entire group, the Lionesses. So that made it a little different. With the 40-day, with the Journey, it's the same concept, but when you don't have that personal element, where we've touched each other, we've held hands and we've prayed, it's just a little different, but it's the same. We're sisters in Christ. We sit down, we share with one another, we share personal things with one another, even beyond our buddies. We get into the chat and, we, sit and share things there. So it's a difference when you sit down and you have that personal touch, when you can really get to know each other.
That's wonderful. That's great. How have you all felt? Have you created, have you ever found yourself, and we'll start with you, Charles, and then we'll go back to you, Elaine, and keep the same kind of pace and pattern. Have you felt like when you're in meetings or discussions that maybe you were able to get something out or from someone else in your group in discussions that really helped you personally? And I'm really talking about people in your group. Was there ever a discussion that you had that someone was able to say something and what they said helped you with what you were dealing with, or vice versa, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because out of our group, and it was kind of weird at first, but almost 100% of the men there, for example, we talked about their fathers never saying that they love them.
Wow.
Until they were older, like high school age, college age. That's when they said, my dad didn't tell me he loved me until I was in high school, until I was getting married, or until I was grown. Where my mother told me all the time. I mean, that was one of the common fibers that really just kind of was an aha moment for a lot of us.
That's deep.
And that's even with, and some of the men was even saying, I was raised up with my father, and he never still told me that he loved me. Wow. Just the same as some men were saying that my parents were divorced at a young age, and my father never told me. So we started to see that there was some common ground in there, whether your father was present or absent. Wow. And that was just one of the things that was common for, like, that we all could say, wow, I hadn't thought about it till you brought it up. Thank you, Dr. Joe, taking me back to 5th grade. Thank you, Dr. Joe, for taking me back to 1st grade. But thanks for taking me back. Your assignment takes us back.
Good.
That's been a blessing. It really has.
Praise God for that. Elaine, what about you? Same question.
I guess the thing that comes to mind most recently, we had a conversation. This happened to be with my buddy. She's going through a situation, and so am I. I'm going through a situation. So she was saying that when she got together with her family, there were some people that really she didn't really know that well, and she didn't feel very comfortable hugging them, with this being COVID and all, and it kind of made me think about my personality, in that I'm a real hugger. Yeah. And I grew up in a church where everybody hugged each other all the time. So when I transferred, in a sense, to a new church, it wasn't necessarily that kind of culture. So I got the feeling, in a sense, well, maybe something's wrong with me. But what she brought out to me made it, illuminate a little bit more, is that everybody just doesn't like to be hugged, especially by strangers. And especially in this day and time with COVID, you can't just go up and hug everybody, especially at church. I'm not that way now, because I am very precautious of, COVID, but in my nature, just being a little bit more precautious about, allowing people to hug me, or me hugging someone. It doesn't mean that they're not receptive of the love of God. It just means that in this day and time, things are a little bit more different, and I have to be more conscious about extending myself in that manner. So that was really valuable to me. I just took it to heart. That was just something I needed to hear.
Wow, that's, it's so great that we have a real village and a real community where people are able to get such valuable connections with other people, experiences, and not just to receive value, but to bring it. Because in your groups, there are things that I'm certain, Charles, you said, and you, Elaine, that have helped someone else in their struggles. I'm certain you all have talked about this, and vice versa. So that's just wonderful. I really thank you guys for being on with me and with us on today. But if someone is watching and maybe they're thinking about maybe coming through the process, what words would you share with them?
I would tell them to do it. Don't look before you leap. Get on in there, give it 100%, and the process works. You're going to see the results you want physically, and get in there and get it done. I mean, it's going to work. I will say it does work. The process worked. It worked for my sister who encouraged us to get into it, and it's been working for us.
Wow,
The
that's
process
awesome.
works.
Elaine?
I want to piggyback off of what he said. When we first started in the 40-day, I was kind of skeptical. So I said, well, let me test this out. So the week before we started, I started prepping meals and, just to see how things work. And I lost 3 pounds. And then when I was told, well, that's not going to count towards your starting weight, I tried to put it back on.
I lost 3-4 pounds the first during that little test period as well. So
yeah, so definitely I would say,
go on.
Definitely I would say, get into the process and then take it on personally, make it your own. One thing that blessed me with him is that once we really got down the way you measure your foods and what have you, he started really taking things on his own, taking it personally. In other words, I felt kind of rejected before we started the 40-day turn up, because sometimes people would ask, well, why do you have gout attacks? Or what's wrong with your blood pressure? What's going on there? And he would say, well, it's my diet. And I would feel indicted because, I do the cooking. So I was like, well, it ain't my fault, Well, it really was. But at the same time, when you don't know, or when you do know, you do better. And that's what the 40-day turn up and the journey is all about. Yeah. The education is just invaluable. It's invaluable. All of those master life classes and what have you, I've just learned so much of how to cook meals and what, as far as how much to eat, weighing your food out and things of that nature. That has just blessed both of us. It really has.
Well, that is wonderful. You guys are just two bright lights. And I really, really thank you, Mr. Charles and Miss Elaine, for being our special guest. Everything happens for a reason. For whatever the reason, it didn't work last week. It happens in God's time and God's way. So thank you all for being our guest. You all have been amazing. Y'all show them some love in the comment section.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being our guest. God bless you all.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's part 1. Mr. and Mrs. Charles and Elaine Swain, thank you for being our guest, Elaine and Charles. And for our part 2, I'm going to bring on our second guest, the none other than Christy Nester. Christy, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Dr. Joe.
How you feeling on this Sunday evening?
I am feeling so amazing.
Well, great. You're just glowing through the screen, Christy, I tell you. You're like a burst of sunshine. Thank you for being a guest and for being a part. I know you were a little nervous at first, but we got you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, tell us about yourself. Where you from? Where you live? Tell us about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So I live in Arizona. I was born and raised in Arizona. I grew up in, a difficult childhood, lots of addiction, drugs, alcohol, things like that. So once I became an adult, I knew that I needed to break some chains for my family and the next generation. So praise God, I found the Lord at about age 18. And since then, I've never looked back and definitely broken a lot of chains. I've been married now for 28 years and we have 2 grown children and actually I have a third now because my daughter got married. So I have a new son-in-law. And yeah, so that's it. I'm still in Arizona.
Arizona. All right. What city in Arizona?
I'm actually in Buckeye.
Buckeye.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Wonderful. So is it hot there this time of year yet?
You know what? Right now, we don't consider this hot, but it's getting there. So,
Okay.
upper 80s, 90s. I actually enjoy that.
Wow. That is amazing. I think she froze up on us a bit. I'm sure she'll come back.
Oh, am I there?
Oh, there you go. You froze up on me, but I see you. You're looking good now.
I'm so sorry. So the weather actually right now is beautiful. It's great to be outside. I love to be outside. Any moment I can be outside, I'm outside.
And when you say things like it's 80 or 90 degrees and it's getting there, you're living in a hot climate.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's great. Well, talk to us about the 40-day turn up. How did you find it? What brought you to the process?
Yeah, perfect. I'm excited for this. So I'm a nurse, and another coworker had came over, and she had talked about it, and this was probably last fall. And the only thing she really mentioned to me was about it being mind, body, and spirit. And I was all ears. I'm a learner by the core of my body. I'm constantly wanting to learn new things, hobbies, nonfiction. Like, I just like to learn. And so she mentioned those three things, mind, body, and spirit. I was just all ears. And I said, where do I sign up? And she said, just look it up online. She didn't really give me a lot of information. Mm-hmm. So I did. I looked it up right then, that moment, signed up. The class was already started. So I was in, but I had to wait a really long time because that class had just started. Right. And at the time, God's timing is always kind of, puts me in awe all the time. Yes. I didn't know then how much I needed it now. And so I'm so blessed.
Well, talk to us about how has your experience been?
So my experience has been absolutely amazing. I get emotional because I get so passionate and excited about it. So I get emotional about it. But my group, I got to shout out my group and my
shout your group out. Shout them out.
My amazing leader, Bridget Faison, is so amazing, and she has just been the rock, keeping us all together. And my team, I mean, when I went into this, I had no idea I was going to gain so many new family members, and we're so close. We dance together, we pray together, we share everything together. And for that to be built in such a short amount of time, I give all glory to God for that. And the people that are specifically placed in this group, it's no mistake. My buddy, shout out to Miranda, has been just a godsend. And we were put together. We both had some, tragic things happen, and we connected on those levels. We were able to share. And so God is so good in how he put and orchestrated this specific group of women. And they're so amazing. But so that part of it's been huge. But I got to tell you, for me, going into it was mind, body, and spirit, right? Because I could never get all three things going at the same time. Right. Obedience sort of comes easy to me. Like, my leader tells me to do something, you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. The obedience is easy. Self-control and trust are areas that I struggle. Mm. And so this process has taught me to juggle all mind, body, and spirit together. Some of it's unexplainable. I can't even explain it, but the knowledge and the things that we learn in the master classes, and it just works. Like, it works so well. And what I would like to share is it's been tested. When you're going through something and it's going well, it's easy to say, yeah, this works. But this last week had a pretty traumatic event in our family. Mm-hmm. And typically I would be derailed in all three areas. That would be my nature, would just give up everything, the goals that I had, I would just be completely derailed. Mm-hmm. And then because of this process, and because of what I've learned, and because of my group, I am so steadfast. I have not lost sight. God has changed my mind. I'm a worrier, something I struggle with. God is completely transforming my life in that area. Physically, I'm on track. I'm really proud of my progress and what I've done. And I feel amazing. Like, I just want to shout and scream to everybody. Like, when you can get these three things in your life all working together, it's like unexplainably amazing.
Now, I think, first of all, that's an amazing testimony. And I think, because you said that this past week you had a traumatic experience to occur. Mm-hmm. Christy, thousands of people are going to see this. Mm-hmm. Someone who is either watching this or who will watch this is going to have a traumatic experience. Mm-hmm. What advice can you give people who experience a traumatic experience that helped you to not derail as you said you would have? What advice could you give them so if they experience that, they can be helped as well by your testimony?
Yeah. You know what? I think I've been journaling through this, and I try to, because I'm a learner and I want to keep learning more about myself, and you always add more things into it, and it makes another light bulb go off. But for this particular instance, I think, one, the accountability. of the group. Knowing I have to face them and be accountable to them and then prayer, obviously they have been praying for me. That's been huge. And then, for me, it's like, I was just completely focused on my goals and my routine. And I think it was far enough into this process where those things had already started to shift. And I just resisted. I feel like you had talked about it in one of the master classes. The enemy's going to try to come at me. And I think I just put on all the battle. I put on every piece of equipment that God gives me to fight. And I just fought it. I mean, I really did. And I never really felt even tempted to derail, but I felt myself. I think I explained it to my buddy. Like, I felt like, like Moses, like I felt like people were holding up my arms, but I was not losing focus. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to lose focus. I've worked hard to get where I'm at. And then I think God just did the rest. And that's what's truly amazing about this process is some of it I can't explain, but the information that you give us and in the timing that you give it to us, it does it in such a smooth transition that the transformation is just, it's deep. It's to my core.
Wow, that's great. What a wonderful testimony. And I hope you guys, I'm sure you're listening to her, because that's just it's like being in the group, having the accountability, having the support is such a great structure that all of us need. We all need that because we're all humans. We're all children of God, which is amazing. Let's go back to before the start, back to the pre-work. Did you find it helpful? And if so, what helped you?
I did. I think the pre-work was really, really important. And my leader was super on top of that, getting us prepared and making sure we're on track and that we understood. And I think just the practicing of it, the pictures, the visuals, again, I'm a learner. And so I love the amount of information that was coming out, even in those beginning stages. I really felt set up to succeed. I didn't go into it with questions. It's like, I know now, I know it's expected of me, and I knew more new things were coming. But like I mentioned earlier, because I'm a learner and trust is one of the things that I struggle with. And my leader has actually helped me with this, is I had to just trust the process. I wanted everything to make sense. I wanted to connect all the dots because that's the learner in me. Plus, I want to be obedient. And if I don't understand, how do I be obedient? So I was trying to always connect these dots and maybe overthinking things, but I wanted to do so good. And so just actually letting go and trusting the process, trusting you, trusting your leadership, trusting my leader has grown me. It's almost like a muscle in my faith. It's like grown me in that area so much to where it's relieving. I feel a release off of me. Like I can just trust this process. And so in the beginning, when we were doing pre-work, I was trying to still connect dots, but I was learning so much. So I was fulfilled. But there was a transition for me where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm just going to trust the process. It doesn't have to all make sense to me. Because being a nurse, there's some things I'm like, I think about it too much or whatever. And so, I just finally just trusted it.
Wow. Here we are. We've been working together since January 23rd, and it's April 3rd. Doesn't it feel like the time has just flown by? I mean, is it just me, or do you feel that way also?
I feel that way also. I don't want it to end. This has been such a beautiful thing in my life. And, when you say the word transformation, I hear that word, but now I am that word. And so it feels so good. And I just, I know that I've got it now. Like I'm not fearful to take this on and carry on with it because of everything that I've gained. But it's gone by so fast, and I love these people, my group, so much. And we've already talked about continuing that on so we can all stay connected. And I haven't been able to meet them physically because I live in Arizona, but it's gone by so fast, Dr. Joe. It really, really has. And I think because I've been so fulfilled all the time, that's right. What's making the time go by. And I'm learning so much, and I'm a student, taking notes, and I just don't want that to end because I feel like you have so much knowledge that you could probably keep pouring into me, but I know the process has to, come to an end in some ways.
Well, we're gonna keep trudging, and that sounds great. Here we are. When you came to this process, what did you want to get out of it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I knew my why going into it. And like I said earlier, that juggling of mind, body, spirit, the physical part was enticing to me because I've been trying to lose 15 pounds for years, and but never my focus. But I would get focused on that physically, but then spiritually, this ball would start to drop, or mentally, and so to get what I wanted out of this most, and I didn't know how it was possible because, again, I've always struggled with trying to do all three things at once. That's what I wanted out of it the most, and that's what I got. I'm
Oh,
so excited.
wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That is great. That has to make you feel great to know that you got out of it what you wanted, but it's because you did it. You put in the work.
yeah.
That has to be inspiring to you.
It is inspiring. It really is. I mean, I feel like you do have to put in the work. You have to be a student, I feel like you can't just listen. You have to, I think we're called participants. Like you have to participate. You have to be, like all in, I think is really what it is. And I think that's helped me not lose my focus in
Right.
different shifts and things that have happened in life and through this last week. But when you're all in like that, you're not just listening, trying to gain what you can. But I wasn't coming in this to just gain what I can. I came into this for the transformation.
If someone is listening and they're a person, a man or a woman who hasn't come through and is thinking about it, and if they were asking you, what do I need to know to be successful for myself in this process? What would you tell them?
You know what? I would probably tell them the two things. The one thing that I learned the most is about trusting the process, not to resist, not to hold back, not to question, not to not do something because it doesn't make sense. But I also, so that's a huge one for me. You just have to trust the process. You have to trust the people. It works. There's testimonies all over, even this YouTube channel of people that this process works. There's no question, but you can hear that and see that, but you have to actually
Yeah.
trust that it for yourself. Um, and then I think for me, it's just finding your grit. The days that you wake up and you like don't want to work out, you do it. You owe it to yourself. You're worth it. And so many things are going to try to pull that away from you. And I've, being a mom, stay-at-home mom and stuff, your identity becomes into your kids. And being a nurse, it's like I give to other people all the time, taking care of them. And it's okay. I struggle with this, but it's okay to be selfish for
Mhm.
yourself and
That's
take
right.
care of yourself. And that's one thing that if you're thinking about doing that, that anybody that's thinking about doing this, you're worth it, and it's worth it. Trust the process, and I promise you will experience more than what you think you're going to get out of it, because I certainly have.
Wow, that's rich. Now, here we are. We've been working together since January 23rd. We're entering our 5th week together. 6 months from now, what does Christy want her life to look like?
You know what? I want my life to continue to grow in those three areas and all work together. You know what I mean? I feel like I have so much more to grow and learn in these areas now that I've figured out how to kind of these things, three things do work together, and
Mhm,
how beautiful that is. And that's how our bodies should work.
mhm.
And so for me, like I said, I'm an active person. I like to go and do. And sometimes mentally you can't because you're down in that area, or sometimes physically you can't because you're down in that area. And so for me, I just want to be able to keep pursuing what I'm doing so I feel good, help others however I can help them with what I've gained, encourage them, and ultimately just be able to live the life God wants me to live and to be able to serve other people. And I've got to be the best of me to be able to do that.
Wow, that's powerful, Christy. You
Thank
you you you've just been a breath of fresh air from start to finish. So thank you so much for being my guest on this evening.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
for accepting. You've been so involved. You're always energetic, And that's what drew me to you. And I said, I would love for her to be our special guest. So Christy, thank you for being our guest. You have been wonderful, and we really, really appreciate you gracing us with your digital presence.
Thank you, Dr. Joe, so much. Thank you so much.
All right, Christy, we love you.
Okay, thank you.
You have a great day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Christy, what a great interviewee. Christy Nester, all the way from Buckeye, Arizona, where it's getting hot to trot. Two great interviews, Mr. and Mrs. Charles and Elaine Swain, and Mrs. Christy Nester. Doubleheader, ladies and gentlemen. Only here at the Village. I'm opening up the phone lines for those of you who want to call in, make a comment, or maybe even a question. You give me a call. I'm going to take some calls. Let's see if I can get the calls ready. Great interviews. I'm just on cloud 10. Cloud 10. Give me a call at 404-490-2968. Dr. Joe is on the main line. After those exciting conversations with the Swains and Miss Christie, the phone lines are now open. You guys are in the comment section showing much love to Christy. She's got a lot of support, and to the Swains.
Call from.
This is Dr. Joe. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Dr. Joe. This is Regina. How are you?
This is Regina.
Yes.
How are you, Regina?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful.
Where are you calling from?
I am calling you from Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit.
Yes.
All right. Are you in the process, Regina?
Yes, I am. I'm in the 40-day turn-up.
Shout out
And
who's your team?
I've lost a total of 16.6 pounds.
16 pounds. Look at you. Who's your leader? And talk about your group. Shout them out.
Oh, man. Shout out to the Determined Divas. And our leader is Kanade, and she is awesome.
That is just wonderful. How has your experience been thus far, Regina?
Oh, man. It's been a life changer, Dr. Joe. This experience has been nothing less than the best. I'm telling you, it's something that I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue on after my 40-day journey ends. However, I was a little shaky about it because I was a little nervous if I could continue on and things of that sort. But I'm having so many health benefits. My pressure is down. My weight is down. And I was pre-diabetic, Dr. Joe. And my sugar, my husband is a diabetic, and they had diagnosed me as pre-diabetic. My sugar levels are down. I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me that I was out of that danger zone of being diabetic.
Praise God.
So, yeah, I know. And my energy is back up. I just have one question.
Yes.
And don't beat me up. I want to know, what is it, because carrots was a part of my life.
Yes.
And I haven't eaten any carrots. So why is it that we can't eat cooked carrots? Is it because it's too much sugar? Can you explain to me?
Yes. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do one even better. I'm going to give you just because of that question, I'm going to get off and give you a visual and answer that question. How about that?
Okay, perfect.
All right, I'll take one more call, and then I'm gonna answer Regina's question about the cooked carrots and make it make sense to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for calling,
Thank
Regina.
you.
I'm so glad that you've gotten value out of our amazing process here.
Oh, yes.
Be
for
blessed.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so what I'm gonna do, instead of waiting, I'm gonna go ahead and answer her question. I'm going to restate her question, and I'm going to show you something. Give me a second to where I can pull things up. One of the things that I told you all that you could not eat was cooked carrots. Regina wants to know why. It's an excellent question, and I'm going to answer it right now. Give me a second to kind of get everything cued, ladies and gentlemen, and then I will explain. Okay? Here we go. All right. All right. Regina asked a question. As you guys know, I told you that when you eat carrots, that they can only be like accoutrements, atop things, raw. And she wants to know why. All right. Look at this. This is an article. It says, you're doubling the glycemic index of a sweet potato when you bake it. Okay. This comes from the Huffington Post. I'm going to read it. It says a baked sweet potato is one of those rare things in life that's both good for you and intensely satisfying, kind of like watching multiple episode TV crime dramas. In terms of nutrition, a baked sweet potato is high in vitamin A, C, fiber, potassium, and iron. Flavor-wise, it's like a dessert, and a savory casserole got married and had a baby. But a baked sweet potato also has twice the glycemic index of raw sweet potatoes. Before you panic, don't. Baked sweet potatoes' glycemic index is still not very high, and they're still recommended as a healthier alternative to white potatoes. However, if you're diabetic, you need to regulate your insulin levels for any reason, or you're just looking to cut back on sugars. You may want to rethink the way you eat sweet potatoes. The good news is there are simple ways to prepare sweet potatoes that can produce dramatically lower GI. We'll show you how to do that. But first, let's go to the root of understanding what happens when you bake sweet potatoes. The glycemic index, which is what you all learned yesterday in your masterclass, is a way of ranking carbohydrate-containing foods according to their immediate effects on blood sugar levels. Carbs with low GI or glycemic index, which are considered to be the most diabetic friendly, are more slowly digested, causing a slower rise in insulin levels, whereas foods with high GI levels, such as white bread, table sugar, are quickly digested and make our insulin levels skyrocket. So, the reason why I told you all that you could not eat cooked carrots is the same reason why the article that I just read to you talks about the baking process increases the glycemic index. To those of you who may have no clue what I'm talking about, and you did not hear the masterclass that I did on yesterday called Insulin, the Enemy of Weight Loss. We were talking about diabetes is nothing more than when the pancreas become worn out. The pancreas is what secretes the insulin in order to take the glucose or the sugar out of the bloodstream into the cells. A diabetic is a person who is not producing enough insulin to secrete into the bloodstream to remove the glucose out of the bloodstream into the cells. Insulin resistance is when the insulin is released. It goes to the glucose, takes it out of the blood, but the cells reject or resist the body's ability to take the sugar or the fuel into the cells in order to burn them. So an insulin resistant person, instead of burning fuel, they store fuel. So you get the tire waste, you get the weight gain around the midsection. That's early signs of a potential metabolic problem, which is what diabetes is. So in taking you all through what I was trying to do, and the way I have designed the nutritional profile is to keep the taxation off of the pancreas and to keep the impact on what you're eating on the pancreas at low of a rate as possible. If you take a carrot and you cook it, or you mash it, or you stew it, when the heat is exposed to it, it changes the chemistry of it. The sugars are released. The fibers are broken down. The biological structure of that food shifts. And when you ingest it, the sugars are released more precipitously, which makes the impact on the pancreas more substantial, which increases the glycemic index, which is counterproductive of what we're trying to do in terms of lowering the amount of sugar, making the food more stable, forcing the body to have to burn through it in a slower amount of time in order that it does not spike our insulin. Okay? So, Regina, I hope that answer specifically and thoroughly answers your question. It's about glycemic index. When you cook those carrots, the glycemic index increases. Okay? And believe it or not, carrots have a lot of sugar in them, more sugar than you think. And that's one of the reasons why we avoid the root vegetables. But guess what? Same place carrots grow, same place the potatoes grow. We're trying to avoid those things to where we can purge the sugar out of the body. The sad thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is every diabetic should be exposed to awareness about glycemic index. I have worked with certain people and their doctors told them that they needed to eat oatmeal to raise their low blood sugar. When a diabetic is changing his or her life and your sugar levels are dropping, that's the first sign that you are on your way to healing yourself. It does not mean that you're healed. It does not mean that you don't need medical supervision. It does not mean that you don't need to take your medication, but it means that when the sugar levels are dropping, that's the first step a diabetic has to take to heal themselves. The higher the sugar in the blood, the more the pancreas are taxed. The pancreas, like I told you, is like a sprained ankle. It cannot heal itself if it's continuously taxed. You eating pasta and you eating bread and you eating rice. The more that stuff you eat, the farther you are from healing. It's counterintuitive. The way diabetes is treated in the West keeps people sick. It keeps you on that insulin. I know a lady who had 4 vials of insulin before noon. 4 vials. 4 vials. That stuff is toxic. If you're watching this and you're a diabetic or you're a pre-diabetic and you're in this process, keep on doing what I'm telling you to do until you are no longer a diabetic. For all you diabetics talking about something, hey, I want some fries or I want some pizza. You are not at liberty to even desire that stuff right now. Let me tell you what's sad about people, and I'm going to sign off. What's sad is a person's health is not enough motivation for them to become healthy. Because most folk who are eating in a certain way know that what they're eating is not helping them. So the switch to most people is not one of logic. You can be eating crappily, as many of you were, or as many of you maybe who are not in the process are, and you know you eating crappily. You know it's driving up your poor health. You know it is not what you need to be doing, but you keep doing it. Logic is not the switch for most people, because if it was, most people would do what they needed to do to keep their health in check because they know it. The switch is not logical, it's spiritual. It's emotional. It's about the soul. It's about it's about the things that you do that you don't understand why you do them. Why would you, who love yourself, keep on doing something that you know is hurting you? Would you sit in a corner and beat yourself? If you saw someone that beat themselves or that cut themselves, you would look at them and say something's wrong with them. Well, what's the difference between that person who's cutting themselves than you eating something that you know is killing you? You know it's perpetuating your diabetes. You know it. You know it's making your waist bigger and bigger and bigger, but you keep doing it. Spiritually, there is no difference. The person that's cutting themselves or the person that's overeating, the only difference is we live in a society where overeating is socially accepted because everybody overeats. But the person that's cutting himself is deemed as crazy. No, spiritually speaking, the person that's cutting themselves and the person that's overeating is still the person that's sabotaging themselves. Spiritually, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So you have to approach healing, not logically sometimes. Logic has a lot to do with it. You can logically explain some things. You can logically teach some things. But to get to the impetus of a person's problem, it's not always in the head. It's in the heart. You see. It's not in the head, it's in the heart. Okay? So there's a whole lot more to give. There's a whole lot more for us to do. We have an exciting week. Now, let me give you some information. First of all, I want to shout out Charles and Elaine Swain for being great guests. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Christy for being an amazing guest. Tomorrow marks not a new day, a new dimension. We're entering our 5th week together. Okay. We're entering our 5th week together. Tomorrow morning at a point, I'll be providing your weekly performance analysis and statistical review. Let you know how you perform. I'll give you context, fodder, direction on what we need to do this week. I am working on a brand new masterclass. Believe it or not, you have one more. The final masterclass is this Sunday. Excuse me, this Saturday. Forgive me. April the 9th at 2 p.m. It's our final one. I'm working on it. And I'm going to tell y'all what it is privately tomorrow. A lot of folk are not a part of the group now. For those of you who are saying, hey, I need to get in this process, stay connected with us on social media, Instagram, Journey Life TV, Facebook, Journey Life TV. We should be announcing, hopefully within 2 weeks, when that next class will be. There's certain things that have to be done in order for that to even be a possibility. So if you stay connected to our channels on both of those sites, you'll be able to get instant information in terms of when and what you need to do. Okay? To those of you who are out here and you're living a life that is far from being healthy, or remember, you cannot not be healthy and still be your best possible self. You cannot. the obese person, the overweight person, the person who's taking all these medications for things that are related to your lifestyle, you are a watered down version of yourself. And I do not mean that to judge you. I mean that to speak truth to you. You can never be your best possible self when your health is compromised. You could, because poor health is indicative of other things like what? Lack of discipline, lack of consistency, lack of awareness, lack of motivation, lack of structure. All of those things are needed characteristics that we need to be better. So the first way that I can be a disciplined, structured, motivated person is to work on how I treat myself. See, if you ever meet a fit man, he's a disciplined man. You see, a fit woman is a disciplined woman. Think about all of those little beach bodies that you see, the men or women that you like to see, that you like. All of them are doing exactly what you're doing to some degree to sustain that life. If you want to optimize your health and wellness, you cannot be of this world. It's like what the Bible says when it says, when Paul was speaking, he said, if you're going to be in the world, don't be of it. You see, most folks are food addicts. Most people are addicted to food. 90% of people are food addicts. But it's socially accepted, so we don't address it. You see, it's socially accepted, so we don't address it. Everywhere you go, somebody offering you something to eat. Go over somebody's house and let them offer you something and you don't get it. They'll ask you 1,000 questions. Why don't you want nothing? You see. So this is what I represent is not I'm not a dietitian, but I understand nutrition. I'm not a fitness expert, but I understand movement. I'm not a medical doctor, but I understand the biology of the body. Okay. But what I am is a transformationalist. And in order to be that, you have to understand God, God's best creation, which are human beings, and realms of spirituality. You see? So, yeah, I read all that stuff, but I don't need that. People say, well, you're not a medical doctor. And what's that mean? Oh, you're not a dietitian. I got receipts, baby. You know what school I went to? The school of results. You know where my degree came from? The school of results. Don't nobody care about, credentials if you ain't getting results. And can't nobody say that I took anything from them. You understand that? Whatever you see me get, I didn't get it from you. You understand that? So one day when you see me in my Lambo and my jet and all that, I didn't get it from taking advantage of nobody. God gave it to me. I'm just telling you now. I don't want to hear nothing. Anyway, I'm glad to be here with you all on tonight. Love y'all. I hope you have an amazing evening. You guys have been an amazing group of people. Just fascinating. I'll tell you, I've learned so much from you, and I've gotten so much value in helping you and navigate. Just remember, gang, just because we can see 2 weeks away, we're not there. We got a lot more to do. So let's keep our foot on the gas, have a good rest, get up in the morning. I'll connect with you all sometime in early morning as we normally do to give you a performance review and statistical analysis. To all of our special guests, I'm glad you're here. I love each of you tremendously. May the grace, peace, and love of God rest over you. I also pray for your protection. I pray for the protection of your family, for your friends. And I also want to send prayers out to one of our leaders, Natalie Mapp. I will not go over or divulge what she's up against, but let's just say that she had a medical issue that she was dealing with. But thank God I was able to talk to her this morning. She's in good spirits. So tonight, if you don't mind, keep Natalie's name in your prayers and thoughts. Positive that the Lord touches her, heals her, and puts her on the road to a speedy recovery. All right. Have an amazing evening, gang. I love each of you very, very much. God bless you, and may God keep you. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace, love,